let's welcome Puneet. And I think Rohit as well on the stage. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, hi, Puneet. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I heard you are implementing a lot of F&B revenue management in Singapore market.
All over, not just Singapore, but in many countries all over the world now, ranging from Australia right up till Europe.
Can you, while he's setting up, can you share a little bit like what do you see is the latest trend and what do you see, especially hotel restaurants, right? What do you see like the benefit of having the F&B revenue management?
Well, it's been 5 months into the year, and this is the 12th time I'm talking on the subject in 5 months. So that just shows how much interest is there, whether it's restaurant revenue management or integrating technology into restaurants. There are quite a few people over here who are bold and brave to already embark on that journey. So I'm really proud that some of them are present in this room. The reason is, I think behind every calamity comes an opportunity. And I think COVID was one such calamity that gave an opportunity, an emphasis on food and beverage, which was treated like a prodigal child for a long time. And today, instead of being an ancillary area of revenue generation, a lot of owners, more than operators, a lot of owners are realizing that I have this huge capital investment in real estate. So how is that performing? How is that generating revenue? And I can tell you, 2 years from now, your performance tests are not going to be based on just GOPAR and GOP levels and how you do on STR. Is going to be based on how you utilize your food and beverage facilities, right? So there's a huge mindset change, and I think that's driving both in the independent as well as restaurants housed in the hotels. So we work with both, right? So I see both the realms of independent and restaurants housed in hotels.
Now I know what KPI I need to set for my hotel next year. Thank you, Puneet. I'll pass the stage to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So like I said, I've already done similar sessions now. This is the 12th one I'm doing, and thank you to HSMAI. It's so strange that I was at Horeca, which is one of the biggest conferences for food and beverage. It's a very big exhibition in Thailand. So I'll have a one-on-one with Rohit, who's a phenomenal authority in restaurants in Asia. He's got people swear by his outlets. In fact, today also he was talking and he didn't even mention, he just said, I have some restaurants, and people started blurting out restaurants and they were all his, right? And he's got it in Cambodia, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, so a major authority in food and beverage, and we're going to be having a quick conversation with him. But what I wanted to do was that we spoke about technology, integrating technology into restaurants. And I just want to talk about customer lifecycle journey. It used to be fairly simple, flat. Someone comes to the restaurant, eats food, chef comes out, says hello, you eaten food, go back home, tell a few friends about it, what a great experience you had. That journey has gone through a transformational change in the last 8 to 10 years, and we feel the extent of that transformational journey, which has become highly complicated, from the way you design restaurants to the way you put the service aspects of the restaurant to the way you optimize performance of the restaurants, right? And this change has led to already transformational technological advances that apply to restaurants, right? So whether it is online menus to things like OpenTable, TripAdvisor, now talking about restaurants, and you can book restaurant tables through that. A huge amount of digital disruption in this space, and it's continuously evolving. So today, when I ask a hotel, what is your distribution strategy? How many of you can tell me your distribution strategy for a hotel? Anyone? Raise your hands. Distribution strategy for the hotel? Come on, raise your hands. I know some of you, don't be shy. How many of you can tell me your distribution strategy for a restaurant? The answer would be maybe 2 or 3 people in a room. And that's been my experience. If I ask someone, what's your distribution strategy for a restaurant? No one knows, right? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them because we've never thought about it strategically, and that's why I put up kind of a distribution roadmap over here of how complex distributing a restaurant is. And I don't want to take the fire away from Rohit in the conversation I'm going to have, but I just want to put some thoughts out there which are thought-provoking. So today, restaurant technology is not just essential, it's a priority. But one of the key questions an independent restaurant asked me, Puneet, I pay $200 a month for Google. I pay another $200 for my emails. I pay for my POS another $400. You know, if I add up all these costs, I'm paying $3,000 just for this, and then you want me to put money in digital marketing? That's another $6,000. I've got a fixed cost base of $60,000. So if I add another $10,000 to this as my fixed cost base, I have to start a month thinking, how am I going to pay $70,000? And make money on top of that, where my margin in this industry is only 6 to 8%. I speak to his finance person. I said, why can't you cut down costs? And the next question was, didn't you hear him say, it's a fixed cost base? Where do you want me to cut costs, Puneet? The only way is to go up, increase revenue. And that's the reason why technology is so important, and it makes money. I'll give you an example. For a restaurant in Dubai, we did menu engineering exercise. We increased the price of all chicken dishes by 30 cents. It generated $25,000, 688 in incremental revenue. Multiply that into 12 months, annualize it. Tell me how much money you made. Insane amount of money. It can pay salary, wages, it can drive serious profitability. I have several examples like that. I can go through these examples, right? I also have a tech product, which does exactly that today. So it's not that technology is not available. It's not that data is not available, right? So with that context in mind, I would like to invite my partner in crime, Rohit, on stage. Rohit is, like I said, an authority in food and beverage. He runs restaurants like Charcoal, Above 11, Havana Social, where people going to Bangkok would have partied quite a bit. And he's got restaurants in Dubai, so welcome, Rohit.
Thanks a lot. Should we sit? You want to sit? You want to stand?
Yeah. You want to stand? We can stand. Okay.
Funny story is I had 2 setbacks getting into tech, and I failed. And then I got to hospitality, which is really what runs through my veins. So when he called me and he said he's bringing me to a tech conference, I was like, I was wondering if I was... My voice is loud enough. We'll turn it on. Okay, sorry. Yeah, you guys heard me anyways, right? So when he was inviting me to a tech conference, I was like, Puneet, are you really sure I'm the right guy to come here today? Thanks a lot for having me today. So funny story about me and just as a precedent to this conversation, funny story about my journey with tech at Soho Hospitality. I was at about 2 years ago when we were getting out of the COVID we haven't even discussed it, but we were getting out of the COVID pandemic. And I was invited to a conference where a moderator asked me, what is Soho Hospitality, this is my company, doing with data? And I stumbled for a few seconds not knowing what to answer, and then I courageously or foolishly answered, data? We don't know what we're doing with our data. We have no clue. And about a few weeks after this, true story, I was at HiCap in Singapore, and Sebastian Bezan was on stage, fireside chat, and the moderator asked Sebastian, so Sebastian, what is Accor doing with this data? And to my surprise, his answer was no different from mine. He said, Accor has no clue what it's doing with its data. And that's when I realized that the problem of data and tech is not a Soho Hospitality problem. It's an industry problem. And what I did then is I dropped everything I was doing. I put a task force together, and I said, let's go and address the data challenges at our company. And what we did was we mapped out all the technology platforms that we're using. Reservation management, table management, we're using 7 Rooms. POS, we're using Revel. And then, we've got the accounting app, we use Sage 300. And when we looked at each of these data, these applications, the one thing was that they were all sitting in their own data silos. None of them spoke to each other. And then when we started going, a small guy like us, we're not Accor, we go to the provider and say, hey, we need to connect our POS with the accounting app. And they're like, well, you're not big enough. We don't have the API connectivity, and we're not going to do it for you. And so that sets the precedent for the problem that we have today as an industry. And it goes beyond restaurants. It goes into the hospitality industry as well. When you look at the hospitality industry, massive amounts of consolidation, right? Like, you know, it's like a Pac-Man. The hospitality industry is like Pac-Man. Each one is trying to acquire smaller companies so that they can gain market share. You know, Accor is doing it, Hyatt did it, Marriott and Starwood, and that presents another whole set of challenges because we got to integrate more systems, and at the same time we have more tech coming into the space, right? And that whole tech thing started with OTAs. OTAs caught the hotel industry with their pants down, and that started them looking at tech because they felt they needed to do it. But that started a precedent of new tech applications. And what you said was really interesting because now it's death by, you know, software as a service, right? Like your software as a service, this guy's offering this software as a service, and it's death by software as a service because we have fixed costs as an industry, and we gotta really articulate what we actually need, where are the gaps in our business that we need. So that's kind of a precedent of, you know, where I am, and you know, we still have challenges, but we're trying to address those challenges.
Great. Rohit, that was a fantastic opening. So thank you for doing that and killing my first 3 questions. Anyways, taking a cue from that question, you just opened El Santo, right? A fantastic Mexican restaurant. Talk us through that journey, because I know you talk about different phases of restaurant development, and how have you integrated, how do you take these decisions about integrating technology into your restaurant, and what technologies do you use? What is the value you see out of them? How does it help you, right? You've got an army of food cost controllers sitting in your office, you know, which I've never understood. And your dad says you have just too many people. So somewhere.
So when we first looked at all the data applications and all of those silos, we needed to look at like which ones were going to be the simplest to integrate. And the one thing that we did, which was the biggest win for us, and it's funny because if you ask the hotel guys, they still don't have this. We integrated Revel with 7 Rooms. And by integrating these 2 applications, which have an existing API.
So you want to tell everyone what's Revel and what's 7 Rooms?
Okay, so Revel is a US POS system, and it's not Micros, it's much more, a lot of restaurants are using it. They're actually based out of Singapore, and 7 Rooms is a table management system that allows you to basically get your customers to, you can upsell on 7 Rooms, you can get them the prepay reservations, you can tag customer preferences in terms of their dietary restrictions and all that. And what we basically did was we integrated 7 Rooms with Revel. And by doing that, we are able to, every time you pay in the POS, that data gets exported into 7 Rooms. So we can actually look at your spending. We run a restaurant group with 6 lifestyle brands and 1 QSR, quick service restaurant pizza brand. And we can now see the guest journey, not only at 1 restaurant in the group, but across all 7 restaurants in the group. So we can see every time we pull up the customer data, we can actually see how much that customer has spent at a particular restaurant, but we can also see how much he spent across the entire group. So you get the visibility on the individual level, but you get the visibility also at the group level. So that was one of the first things that we did. But ask the hotel guys today, can they do that? And I challenge them because they can't do that.
Okay, I'm going to protect my hotel people. Some of them are, and they are already doing that. They've got very good food and beverage programs. You said something about Accor, so I just want to protect Accor, and I want to tell them.
No, I didn't say that. I said that the CEO said. I didn't say.
And I think some of them have built platforms and technology where they're able to see. The next question is fine. You spoke about it. You can see the customer journey. You know how much Puneet spent, how big a sucker he is for your restaurants, and so on and so forth. What do you do with this?
Okay.
How do you use it?
So by looking at this customer data, we can now actually see like who the spend per visit, for example, and based on that spend per visit and knowing like what spending power each customer has, we can perhaps, like, for example, if there's somebody who buys expensive wines, we now have several bottles of expensive wines that we know cater to this particular and then we train our waiters to perhaps offer those wines as an upsell to the customer, right? If the customer is, we can even tag the customer that he's a gin tonic drinker. We will know that if he's vegetarian, and we can sort of preempt what the customer needs are. So that's the basics of what we can do from that perspective. And we can also what we can also do is we can start benchmarking that data because we have the visibility across 7 restaurants. We can start benchmarking that data across various restaurants.
To check on efficiencies and what concepts generate what kind of returns. Okay, that's interesting.
But there's also some other apps that we're using, like at Soho Pizza. We've got 7 outlets, and we need to maintain consistently across those 7 outlets. So we use a platform called Nimbly, and it's a tech platform that allows us to do opening checklists, closing checklists, so that, like, in terms of hygiene, cleanliness, operating standards, they can basically use the app to, so what they do is, like, at the end of the night, they need to clean all the shops and make sure that the standards are there in terms of hygiene. We get the app allows you to take a picture of the premises, so you can take all of your SOPs, and especially the important ones, put them on the app, and we use the app to communicate all of those So in terms of quality assurance, that's another app that we use. We're talking to a company right now called Eat Labs, amazing MIT grad. I'm meeting with her tomorrow. We've had several conversations. And what they're using is they're using pixelated cameras that are going into restaurants. And and through machine learning, the pixelated cameras can actually learn the repetitive functions that are happening in the kitchen. For example, in our Soho pizzas, we can place these pixelated cameras into the kitchen. So when they're making a pizza, for example.
Are you spying on your employees?
So, sort of, but here's where it drives efficiency. Let's say in a 12-inch pizza, you can put, you put 12 pieces of pepperoni, but your guy's, he's overloading it, right? He's putting like 15, 16. That's a cost that's taken away from your balance sheet. So through machine learning, these pixelated cameras, they don't know it's a pizza, but through the pixels, it starts to learn what's going on, and it can improve efficiencies in the kitchen. But what's more interesting, it can also do it within the restaurant. And, like, for example, if you're raising your hand up a lot and, like, waiters are not coming, it would actually be able to notice the discrepancies in service standards in terms of, customers needing to order something or needing a waiter to attend to them. And if they're not doing it, it would be able to spot that. So there's a lot of really interesting technologies out there. There's also another one. This might be really, really interesting for the hospitality industry. It's called HeyGen. It's an AI tech that uses avatars to create videos, and you can create any type of video, and you could basically use my face and my body on a video, and you could make me speak Chinese, English, Thai, and you can use that instead of having like SOPs on in soft copy. You can actually transform your SOPs into an avatar, and it's able to share those SOPs using like AI-driven avatars and voices, and that could replace your documentation. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
That's awesome. But some people who are critics of technology would say that, there has to be some balance, right? You're overkilling with technology, right? One of the points you also made. So where do you draw the line? For instance, digital menus. There's a huge discussion about it. It's taking away the human touch. It's taking away the art of selling, of suggestive selling, and so on. So how do you deal with such questions?
In casual to fine dining restaurants, I do not believe in digital menus. I will not do it at my restaurants right now. But at Soho Pizza, and it comes up to another point regarding pricing, but at Soho Pizza, we decided to do dynamic pricing. We implemented digital signage boards at all of our locations. And in the ones that are tourist-centric, where we see an increase in demand during the late night hours from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., we actually increased the prices of our pizzas by almost 10% at those tourist-centric locations, which resulted in a 10 to 12% increase in the overall revenues across all of our Soho Pizza restaurants. But the point that kind of led me to believe is that when it comes to pricing, like hotels have done a great job. They now understand how to yield and what the intrinsic value of their rooms are. But when it comes to pricing, restaurants have no clue what to do when it comes to pricing. Herman Simon, this founder of a company called Simon Kucher and Partners, the largest pricing consultancy in the world, he said that there are two mistakes that brands make when it comes to pricing. You either price too high or you price too little. And pricing is based on the perceived value of the goods and services that you sell, and restaurants have no clue what is the actual value of the goods, the products that they sell in their restaurants. This winter, I increased the prices 5% across two of my restaurants, and one does about 400 people a day, another one does about 200 a day. And I did it during the high season. I said, you know what, COVID's over. This is going to be a great high season in Thailand. Let's raise the prices across the entire menu. Not one single complaint. What does that tell me? That tells me that I was leaving money on the table. And we actually do not know what is the true value of the products that we sell. And the thing is, pricing doesn't have to be challenging, right? Simply increase the price and it drives all the way to your balance sheet. But that's where you have really inspired me. You've really inspired me. This guy's a genius when it comes to revenue management. And he really inspired me to go and look into the internal organs of my company to make sure that we are pricing right. And we started doing a lot of menu engineering, and the one thing we have to realize is that in restaurants, the menu is our real estate. Just that this is, we value, hotel developers value their real estate assets. In a restaurant, we gotta value that menu as our real estate because that's what's bringing yield to the balance sheet, but we don't do a good job of it. And the last point I wanted to make is there needs to be more critical thinking in terms of the correlation between menu design and profitability, and we haven't done enough studies in that area.
Some great takeaways, but I think my biggest takeaway is if you're in Bangkok and you've had a nice drinking night, don't go to Soho Pizza because you're going to be paying 5 times more for the damn pizza.
Don't come to us from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Rohit, fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing such great insights. I think everyone has had thought-provoking takeaways. The deck is going to be available. It has a lot more details, so you can go through it. Rohit and me are around throughout the day today, so happy to talk, engage, and have conversations. As you know, there's passion flowing from a geek who can speak as well as from a tech who failed and became a restaurateur. So thank you very much.